So you and I haven't met before, so hi.
Hi.
um, so tell me about like your journey as an author. Like, where did it begin? How did you come to writing trivia books?
Well, this is the weird thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always, when I was a kid, I wrote fiction.
Hmm.
Ever since I was like 6 years old. Well, actually, no, the first book was nonfiction. Now that I think about it, I think it's in one of my bios where I say I crayoned a book about my mom because I wrote like on construction paper a book about my mother, a picture book, and bound it with yarn. I like actually,
Oh, that's great.
and made this little book. And I've always written fiction, but I've never really finished things. I didn't know I got diagnosed with ADHD just a few years ago. So the first 40 something years of my life, I was, very flighty, and I would write lots of the beginnings of stories, just dozens and dozens. And then I got a job. I actually have a day job working in IT, and I got a job writing tech articles for How Stuff Works. And that's where I started writing nonfiction. This was like 2012 to 2016. And so I wrote like 50 or so tech, mostly tech. There were some like craft ideas for kids, outdoor craft ideas and stuff like that, but most of it was tech.
So what kind of tech?
Mainly gadgets, which is not what I do for a living. So it was kind of I was a software developer, but now I just work in PeopleSoft, but and sysadmin stuff. But I wrote a lot of stuff like about Oculus Rift, Raspberry Pi, any new tech that was coming out, well, okay, I just said two of them and now I'm blanking. Robots, other things.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. I read like a self-help. There was something called the No Fluff Writer, or someone who calls himself the No Fluff Writer, who puts out advice. And they had a half off. Buy all my books for $19, or and I was like, well, what the heck? And I did it. And I started reading them. And one of her bits of advice was to create a portfolio of your stuff online that you could just immediately point people to, which seems obvious, but I didn't have one. But I did have my website. You'd have to dig around to find stuff, but and at the time, that the website's long gone, but I created one on Contently, and then one of her other bits of advice was to join groups like on Facebook and other social media that post jobs. And I went and found a group that posts specifically jobs for women, writing jobs. And somebody from Ulysses Press had posted she didn't say what type of books, but she was looking for people to write a spy trivia book and asked for people to, throw their hat in the ring and send, samples. And, I sent her an email saying why I should do her trivia book, and sent 10 of the articles I thought were the best. And they got back to me and said, you sound perfectly qualified. And then she told me it was spy. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Started going, naming off things I could talk about. And
So you were interested in spies?
I was interested. I wasn't.
Project.
Yeah. But most of the books, it's not, I did not come up with these on my own exactly. I was given a topic by Ulysses Press, and then run with it. They let me run with it, and write entirely myself. They didn't give me any notes or anything. It was just like write about crypto, write a crypto trivia book.
So which of your books are like nearest and dearest to your heart? Or is it stuff that you are about to write?
The spy stuff is my favorite of the nonfiction, even though the tech stuff's more in my line of work. But
Sure.
The fiction stuff fiction is more near and dear to my heart. I have one story. This is not all me. It's just I have one story in this Castle of Horror anthology, Volume 6, Femme Fatale. It's a very long name, but and that's it's not like the best thing I've ever written or anything, but it's a horror short, and I really love horror, so that's kind of what I prefer writing. I usually end up writing dystopian fiction or horror, or just kind of quirky, not quite dystopia. Like things aren't horrible, even in the horror stories.
They're a little
Things
off.
aren't completely dire.
Yeah.
I mean, people get murdered in this, but but yeah.
Cool. So writing for hire, being given a topic and then writing on that topic, is that challenging sometimes, or has it flowed pretty easily for you?
It is challenging. The hardest part is actually coming up with the structure at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like everything I'm gonna, I don't know until I've like really delved into the research, and I have to like usually within the first 10 days, you have to, 10 to 30 days, there are these things you have to give them. And I'm trying to remember which one was 10 days and which was 30. And a lot of contracts are like this, where you have to have a whole outline by a certain time, and coming up with all the chapters when you haven't even done all, when you haven't read all this stuff, it's like, oh my God. And usually though, I do like a crazy fast, dive on the internet and just find a bunch of stuff and then go, okay, there's a bunch of stuff about this, a bunch of stuff about that. And then I, come up with chapters, usually on the fly the day before the outlines due. But usually I have them kind of written out and Laravel and have like 20 different ideas or something, and I pare it down and make it better. But when the things due, and I'm trying to think of like this one, it was like, okay, the first one's spy tradecraft techniques and tools of the trade. So, and then everyday espionage tips, tricks, and dangers. That's actually one they told me to put in, because I that one I feel ill qualified even after reading books. Like, I'm telling people how to do spy stuff. That just seems, but I think I put a disclaimer in the beginning. It's like, these things are dangerous. But and then history, and this was where I really loved it. I had a bunch of history chapters. I said that's ancient history early in there's an ancient history one, a royal intrigue and holy spies from the 1700s, the Americas and all that. And then I went into the Cold War, and then at the end of almost every book, I have an entertainment section. It's like spies and entertainment. And there's cryptids and pop culture, and with the horse book, there was famous horses, and in books and TV and movies and real life. So yeah.
Can you talk about what's next? Like, do you have a commission that you are working on?
I'm not working on any nonfiction right now. I'm writing, I'm collecting, like I said, I've been throwing stories onto Vocal and other places, and I've taken all the horror stories and kind of pulled them into one document, and I'm rewriting or editing, heavily editing them, and I plan on releasing it as just a collection at the end of the summer sometime. Of course, the clock's ticking.
How do you plan to release it?
The weird thing is, I was going to self-publish. I'm going to self-publish, and when I was going to buy ISBN numbers, they asked for imprint, and I was like, well, I don't really have an imprint name. Maybe I should come up with one. And I looked around, and I found that Classic City Press had nobody had taken that URL, and no one seemed to have that name.
Really?
So I got the LLC.
So you are now the Classic City Press.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to release it under Classic City Press. I started a website, but I haven't opened it yet.
You realize with a name like that, people are going to be coming to you to publish their work.
And actually I've thought about that. I was like, it wouldn't be bad to, try to delve into small press.
Sure.
Probably need micro press because I don't have a lot of money, but I could, maybe I could like pay people, small advances and, but
very cool.
I feel, a lot of, I think I've read that, a lot of authors do that. Like you don't necessarily want to print, self-publish under your own name.
Yeah.
You do it under a company name. And, then a lot of people who do that end up publishing other people's stuff too.
Exactly.
And that's how they get
I've
into
run
press.
into that several times.
Yeah. Oh, I did, I think 4 last year and 5 the year before. Mostly for all were for the historical and alternative and historical fiction track. And they had me do a bunch of spy panels. And then I did one on Prohibition 2 years ago. And I was pulled into one on the Gilded Age last year. And that was the one where I was like, oh my God, I don't know anything about this really. But then somebody brought someone up and I was like, oh yeah, I know all about Carrie Nation. And I started going on because of the Prohibition panel, I knew someone from the era. But yeah, it's scary. Like every single time, the first couple of panels, I'm a nervous wreck. And then by the third one, I'm kind of used to it. And I'm like, and it's kind of cool. And I'm like, oh, I always think I'm going to forget everything. And then usually when other people are talking about stuff, things pop out of my head and it actually, works out okay. I do think last year I was in between illnesses. And I don't know if this was a COVID brain. I don't even know if I had COVID, but I had something suspiciously like it. And I could not remember any names to save my life last year. And it was like, I had to keep like a list of people I wanted to talk about. But yeah, so it was kind of embarrassing, but still kind of cool.
What's the most
like
recent thing that you watched or read for fun?
I went and saw the Indiana Jones movie last night. So
How
that
was
was
it?
actually it was good. I
Yeah?
enjoyed it. I went in expecting nothing. That is the best way to go into a film.
Okay.
I know that how disappointed most people were in the previous film,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm expecting that. I'm expecting that film, and it was actually better than that. So that was a lot of fun. I am reading The Hogfather by Terry Pratchett because I love Terry Pratchett, and I haven't read enough of his books. Yeah, he's fantastic. I've read 6 or 7 of the books,
Yeah.
starting with Equal Rights. I didn't go in order. I went Equal Rights, then the first 2, Color of Magic and Light Fantastic, and
Nice.
Night Watch might be my favorite. Night Watch and Equal
Uh-huh,
Rights, but
uh-huh.
Hogfather's very fun. And I watch a lot of horror. Like I watch so many horror films. Like I don't know what I think it's probably a way of coping with anxiety. It's a way of facing
Yeah.
fears without having to actually be in danger. But it feels weird being like a nice non-violent person who
Mhm.
just likes to watch people die on the screen for, for a couple of hours at a time.
There's something about like being fascinated with something that could hurt you in real life, but can't when it's
Yeah,
through the medium of a
exactly.
screen.